Yesterday, this man right here, Victor Franzoni, scored his first ever victory in the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires. We didn't tell him we were going to come talk to him, but I think he's going to give us a minute. Victor, congratulations on that win yesterday, your first ever in Pro Mazda, and you did it here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. How amazing was that?
First of all, thank you very much and good morning. It's really early now. But it was amazing. The race yesterday was my first victory here, and almost everything good here happened here. So I'm really, really happy. It was amazing, and I hope I can repeat that the winning today.
Now, you had a great battle in yesterday's race with our current championship point leader and our reigning USF 2000 champion, Anthony Martin, driving for Cape Motorsports with Wayne Taylor Racing. You guys battled really hard, but yesterday's race was much later in the day. Like you said, it is early. The alarm went off pretty early this morning. It's cool out. There's still a lot of shadows on the track. What have you guys done to the car differently to get ready for today's race in much different conditions?
This is a big secret.
It's a big secret. You're not going to tell me anything. Your engineer, he doesn't mind. You can tell us whatever you did to the car. These guys aren't listening. They've all got their helmets on. It's all a big secret. You won't tell us?
We did something good. It's going to be okay.
We did something good. It's going to be okay. Victor Franzoni, he'll be leading to the field of the green flag here in this one today. Yesterday's winner, and he's battling with Australia's Anthony Martin for the championship point lead here today. Again, it's the Mazda Road to Indy Grand Prix presented by Royal Purple, supporting the Lupus Foundation of America. Let's see really quick if we can go back and get a quick word with Anthony Martin, the championship point leader. Like we talked about, he finished on the podium in second here yesterday. He's in the car, strapped in, ready to go. We're going to see if we can get in for a quick word. Anthony, great running yesterday. Tell me about the battle with Victor, and do you have anything for him today?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go after him. I've got championship on the hand here, so going to give everything we got, and I reckon the car's capable of doing that. So we'll see how we go.
All right, again, Anthony Martin coming all the way from Australia. He's got a lot of friends and a lot of family all around the racetrack here today watching him and cheering him on. He's your current championship point leader. He is driving the Soul Red number 8 Pro Mazda entry for Cape Motorsports with Wayne Taylor Racing. And ahead of him, he's got the 2 Team Pelfrey machines. And again, your race winner from yesterday, Victor Franzoni. Get ready, folks. It's the second round of Pro Mazda Racing here this weekend. The Mazda Road Indy Grand Prix presented by Royal Purple, supporting the Lupus Foundation of America. We're getting ready to head to Rob Howden for the starting lineup of today's race.
On behalf of everyone at Royal Purple Synthetic Oil, drivers, start your Mazda engines!
Green, green, green. Good start for Franzoni to the bottom of the racetrack. Not a great start, though, for TJ Fisher, as he's got Martin pushing him down into turn number 1. They'll go 3-4 wide, setting up for that wide berth into turn number 1. Of course, the cutback, left-hand turn number 2. We got 2 wide coming through the corner. Maybe 3 wide coming through the corner. It looks to me like potentially one of the Team Pelfrey cars may have gone out into the lead. Franzoni trying to hold the position. We'll see them coming out through now. Turns number 3, 4, and 5 as they'll work their way back around to sub onto Holman Boulevard. Out of turn now, number 4 through 5. The little 5-6 combination left-right chicane that leads onto that long straightaway Holman Boulevard down to turn number 7. The best opportunity to pass really here on the opening lap, Kevin, because at this point they've kind of settled into position.
It looked like we had a big attempt there going into turn number 1. We didn't have a very good vantage point, but it looked like there might have been 3 people going for the lead there. But Franzoni has been able to maintain the advantage, so that's mission accomplished. But as we saw yesterday, just hanging on to the lead through that first corner does not get it done. But Franzoni has been the quickest so far. Fisher comes through in second, Kuna in third, and they continue to try to jostle for position in this opening lap.
Yeah, the vantage point we saw, of course, on our monitors was from the tail from behind as they were going in, and you could see as they came through turn number 1, it looked and it appeared like they were 3 wide coming through that corner, but as they come across the line for the first time, Franzoni with a decent little advantage over TJ Fisher. A full second already for the Brazilian over the American. Kuna now into the 3rd spot. Anthony Martin in 4th, Nikita Listoshkin in 5th. So the 2 yellow and black Team Pelfrey cars now settling into P2 and P3 as they go to work chasing down Victor Franzoni in the Ukos number 23.
Bob Kaminsky got a spot on Kevin Davis just after the start-finish line as they started lap number 2. That was to move up into the 10th position.
Kevin, this season here in the Pro Mazda Championship, just a really fantastic opportunity for Victor Franzoni. He's done 3 years in the USF 2000 series, ran with a couple of different teams, was able to settle in with Arms Up Motorsports and actually won on the streets of Toronto last year. 2 years ago, he actually made his jump up to Pro Mazda with M1 Racing, was able to get a couple of races in just to kind of get his feet wet. But again, funding always tough. They was trying to find the money to stay in the program and elected to actually move back to USF 2000. And it really was a good move for him. He was able to kind of reset his value within the paddock here in the Mazda Road to Indy. And there's a lot of people in this pit area that really believe he could be the next Brazilian to work their way into the Verizon IndyCar Series. Yeah, a great charisma, great smile, just a fantastic young man, and obviously with extreme talent as well, as he continues to lead now 1.6 seconds, the advantage for Franzoni over Fisher.
Carlos Cunha in third. Anthony Martin remains fourth where he started. Same for Nikita Listoshkin in fifth position. Stingray Robb has picked up a couple of spots from eighth up into sixth. Philippe Dennis is running seventh. Bobby Eberle eighth. Matt Machiko is ninth. And Bob Kaminsky rounds out the top 10.
Interesting for Bobby Eberle. One of the reasons why we were a little late getting the cars out to the grid was as they were on the mock grid getting set to go, there was a water leak actually in the car of Eberle, the World Speed Motorsports number 13. Series giving him just a little bit of time to get that fixed, to get him onto the racetrack, so they were able to get that fixed up, whatever it was, potentially a loose fitting, a loose clamp. They were able to get it tightened up and get Eberle back on track. He currently runs in the 8th position, and he really, Kevin, has been a really interesting story. 48 years of age, really dedicated himself to this Pro Mazda Championship and trying to become the best driver he could. Lost a bunch of weight a couple years ago, essentially in the best shape of his life. Eberle's a guy that at one point was in the top 10 in National Masters tennis. So obviously a lot of fitness, some great talent there, the physical and athletic ability. Found racing, fell in love with it, and really has dedicated himself. He wants to go to Indy Lights. His program is to try to get up into the Indy Lights series. Again, nearing 50 years of age. Great driver, though, and really starting to step things up. He's got two young teammates, Philippe Dennis and Stingray Robb, the rookies under the World Speed tent as well, and he really has been able to match them on speed.
He began in the national class, which is more of an amateur type class. Now he's running with the rest of the field, running for the regular championship. And these are the kids that are trying to work their way up to IndyCar, and he has the same dreams, and not everybody starts at the same time. So that's one of the beauties of the Mazda Road to Indy, that you have all different types of circumstances and still the opportunity to pursue your dream.
The Mazda Road to Indy obviously focused on young drivers working their way up the ranks, but as Kevin said, the opportunity to come and run some amazing circuits, but still the opportunity to work your way up the ranks as well. And Bobby, as Kevin said, I believe a 3-time national champion in the series. That's that series for 30 years of age and older drivers. He could run national if he wanted right now, but instead wants to run head-to-head in the championship class. And looking good right now as the World Speed Motorsports drivers run 6th, 7th, and 8th. Philippe Dennis in the 15, Stingray Robb in the 14, and Bobby Eberle in the number 13. They're all running together, essentially about 2 seconds apart, and they're trying to close up on Nikita Listoshkin. Franzoni continues to lay down fast laps, a 1:24.0 now, 0.6 quicker than TJ Fisher. So, Kevin, that side-by-side battle we saw for the race lead yesterday ain't going to happen again here today. This is, at least the way it is now, laying out to be pretty much a walk away for Franzoni. I think the confidence he had from yesterday really rolling over here on Saturday. It
was interesting hearing Tony talk with him on the grid, because we wondered yesterday if things could possibly be different.
Contact between a couple drivers on track. Jeff Green late on the braking. Sorry, Kevin, into turn number 1. Got into the back of Kevin Davis. That was on the braking into turn number 1. Little late for Green. Made contact with Davis. Davis went around. Looks like both drivers able to continue. Potentially trouble for the 44. Davis, he may be stuck in the grass. We'll see if he's able to get it refired again, but Green was able to continue. Again, as you said, Tony Laporta having a chat with Victor Franzoni during the pre-race for the event.
We were talking about whether it might be a little bit different with the much different conditions today. And Franzoni said, yeah, we've got something different. We just can't tell you what it is. But we've made some changes. And obviously whatever they did is working better than what anyone else is doing. It's a little bit chilly this morning, 55 degrees as this race started, with the track temperature just over 60 degrees. But Franzoni is clearly hooked up this weekend as he continues to extend that gap by nearly half a second each lap. He's almost 3.5 seconds up on TJ Fisher as they complete lap number 5, another 2 seconds back to Carlos Cunha. Meanwhile, a report of the 60 car who was just involved in that incident, Jeff Green, slow on the backstretch. He's making his way now. He's over on the south end. So we'll see if Green comes down the pit road, and he'll stay on track for the moment. No, I'm sorry, he did come down to pit lane.
I would not be surprised if you're going to see front wing damage. Probably the right front of that wing is going to be damaged because he did, again, overcook it into the turn 1 braking zone, got into the back of Kevin Davis, so there will be wing damage, I would expect, on Jeff Green. Victor Franzoni getting the job done here today. 3.4 seconds the advantage. Indeed, as he rolls by, right front wing damage. In fact, pulled it right off the mounting underneath the nose of that car. So they'll get a new nose on that, get Jeff back on track to continue to knock out some laps here. Franzoni, Fisher, Cunha, Martin, and Listoshkin. Top 5 drivers. Franzoni with Uncos Racing, Fisher, Cunha, and Listoshkin with Team Pelfrey. They've won the last 2 championships. Of course, Anthony Martin running those Mazda Soul Red colors, a scholarship driver, the USF 2000 champion from last year, winning the scholarship to run here in Pro Mazda. So if they do indeed get Jeff Green back out onto the racetrack at the number 60, he will have to serve a drive-through penalty as a result of that contact with Kevin Davis in turn number 1. Actually, it was a pretty good little battle, Kevin, between those 2 drivers, but again, just a little too overzealous into the braking zone for Davis, rather for Jeff Green. Contact ensued.
So looking for battles on the track. Maybe the best one could potentially be for 4th position if Nikita Listoshkin can reel in Anthony Martin. But everyone else is separated just a little bit as we move along. It's not just the front. That's the biggest gap. The gap between 1st to 2nd, which is over 4 seconds now from Victor Franzoni to TJ Fisher.
I would expect that Franzoni probably learned his lesson. He, as I said, we're laughing yesterday as he had a pretty solid lead. I think about 2.5 seconds. He told me he just wanted to keep trying to lower his time. He was trying to get the time lower and lower, kept looking at the dash on the steering wheel to see that his time was getting better and better. And he overcooked it in turn 7, and he said he was almost off into the grass. So it was a bit of a wake-up call, and I settled back in and started hitting some better lap times. So you get a young kid like Franzoni, he wants to win, he wants to pull away, and of course, he had Anthony Martin behind him, and he knows how good Martin is, and he wants to get that gap and build that advantage. And you're pushing the braking zone, and you find yourself in some trouble. And he was lucky he didn't go 4 wheels off, because that would have changed the complexion of that race quite quickly.
Well, he may be playing it more cautious today. If he is, it's not showing up in the lap times, because it's a beatdown right now for Victor Franzoni, who's a half a second faster than everyone else, lap after lap after lap. He's 9/10 of a second faster on the last lap than Anthony Martin, who is the championship leader coming in to this weekend. The lap before, he was about 9/10 faster than everyone else.
And he's also running pretty much the same fast lap times as he ran yesterday, Kevin. A 124.2886 was his fast lap yesterday. 124.29 now. He's about 100th of a second off the fast lap he turned yesterday. But again, that race, of course, was in the afternoon. These engines love this cool temperature. They maybe trade off a little bit on grip, but the Coopers do provide great grip. But these engines love this cool temperature, able to make a lot of horsepower. And again, Franzoni right there in the same pace he had yesterday, but now 4.8 seconds up. Pretty much the same advantage he had at the very end of the race over Anthony Martin. So Jeff Green, they've changed the front wing on the car. He will serve his drive-through penalty coming on through here. Get back on track to continue to knock out laps here.
We had a local yellow a moment ago in turn 10 for a spin for Stephen Ford, who has stayed on the track, and he's now mixed in with the leaders going through the turn 2 and 3 section.
Green finally making his way down to the end of the pit lane. He'll get back out here right in front of Bobby Eberle. Not actually right in front, but probably 4 or 5 car lengths in front of Bobby Eberle. Eberle running in that 8th position, trying to chase down his teammate Stingray Robb.
And finally, someone has pulled a faster lap than Franzoni. TJ Fisher was a 1/10 of a second faster, so Franzoni backed it up that time. He was 4/10 slower than the previous lap, a 124.6. Fisher 124.5, and that is, both of those are a half second faster than anyone else. But Fisher is still 4.6 seconds behind the leader.
When they came into the event here this weekend, Anthony Martin was your point leader, having had a perfect weekend at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, pulled all 66 available points. As they run on the racetrack now, the lead will now shift to Victor Franzoni by 6 points, as Victor looking to sweep the weekend. This Hunt firing back up. TJ Fisher would sit in third position, 91 points. Only 25 markers back of Franzoni, so still, again, a long way to go. It's a shortened season for Pro Mazda this year, as it is the final year with this Elan Pro Formula Mazda car that has been around since about 2001. It's been a stalwart, been a great race car. Carbon fiber tub, of course, the Mazda rotary power plant. We'll move to the Tatis-built PM18 next year with a beefier MZR 2-liter power plant, making about 280 horsepower.
What will happen to these cars? Can they be used for club racing, show cars? Will teams keep them for testing purposes?
I believe primarily they'll probably head to the SCCA. They're able to run in the Atlantic category. The Formula Atlantic class allowed to run, of course, the old Atlantic cars and the Pro Formula Mazdas. There'll definitely be a place for them to go, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them maybe show up at a racing school somewhere, or definitely a great track car. If there's a guy out there who wants to race an open wheel car, these are going to be fairly affordable here at the end of the season. Obviously, nowhere to race them on the national level, on a professional level. So they're definitely going to be an affordable race car. They're an affordable car this year for guys that wanted to get in. And that's where we see a lot of the drivers here. Brendan Puderbach, Charles Finelli, they were able to buy cars this year at a deeply discounted rate to come and run the program this year. Get a chance to run these amazing tracks, Mid-Ohio, Road America, of course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. New car for next year, though, it's going to be a big step up. It's the same chassis, the same tub as a USF 2000 car, but with, of course, bigger wheels, more aerodynamics, significantly more horsepower, 100 more horsepower. We expect it to be a very quick race car, probably anywhere between 1 to 2 seconds faster than the car we have right now. So it'll be another great step. The USF 2000, of course, stepped up from the older car. The Pro Mazda now stepped up to the next level. We already have the Dallara IL-15, which has become a much better training vehicle for drivers trying to get to the Horizon IndyCar Series.
And they're great-looking cars, too. IndyCar fans for the last couple of years have been looking at that Indy Lights car and saying, I really like the way that looks, and IndyCar is making some adjustments to what their car is going to look like, going with common bodywork and a common aero kit, and we've seen some renderings of what that is likely going to look like, mostly from the Super Speedway kit, and it has impressed some people. It harkens back to the kart and the Champ Car days with a little bit of a more sleek look. We haven't really gotten a great look at what the road course and street course body kit is going to look like, but I've talked with people that have seen it and they're impressed. So you're going to have the entire IndyCar world, from the development series and the Mazda Road to Indy, having cars. Yes, they have to perform, but it's also a little bit extra when the fans look at it and say, that's cool. That's part of what racing has always been about, and it's what separates open wheel racing from some other forms of racing, is the cool factor.
Completely agree, and we're going to have great cars here in the Mazda Road to Indy as well. And again, once that PM18 rolls out, we will have a fully modern program in terms of the technical aspects of all 3 levels of the Mazda Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. 5.8 seconds now the advantage for Victor Franzoni as he looks to complete a sweep of the action here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. Longer race, a 40-minute race here today. Still about 23 minutes to go, and anything could happen. Best battle on the racetrack, I think, right now is the fact that we have Nikita Listosian in the number 80 starting to close up a bit here on Anthony Martin in the number 8, back by less than a second, turning very similar lap times now, Kevin, but that is the battle we're watching here as Listosian can try to get by Martin, and if he were able to do that, that would even extend Franzoni's potential point lead, as Martin needs to get spots up, not spots back.
Oh, and by the way, Victor Franzoni had backed off the pace just a little bit, turning 124 5s and 6s. 124.2 again that last lap. This one a couple of tenths slower, but he's still 0.6 of a second faster than Fisher and Kuna, who are running in second and third. So the advantage is now over 6 seconds for Victor Franzoni with 12 laps complete. Then it's Fisher, Kuna, Martin. He stretched his advantage, went 0.4 quicker that time than Listoshkin, who runs in fifth.
You know, a good lap there, Kevin, as you said, for Anthony Martin in the number 8. Look at that. He was also 0.7 quicker than Carlos Kuna in the number 81. So he's closed up to 2.2 seconds. If he can keep this pace up and Kuna still runs in the 25s, we could find ourselves in the battle for third here as well.
Little issue in turn number 13 for Bob Kaminsky. And he was a little slow getting through the south end. We'll watch for him to see if he makes his way up the main straightaway now.
Kaminsky running in the 11th position. Number 31 of Brendan Puderbach had a chance to get on track here today. They had some issues with one of their cars. Charles Finelli drove it yesterday. Brendan's going to drive it here today.
So these teams will have another little break coming up and another classic American road course coming up. This is a fantastic schedule. You get to race in front of a lot of people in a cool environment. The street race at St. Pete. Enough said about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But Road America, Mid-Ohio, Watkins Glen, those are three places that if you drive sports cars or Indy cars, you want to race at those venues.
They really are three of the legendary tracks in this country. Just fantastic racetracks. I've had a chance to run on all three of them, and I absolutely love them. They're among my favorite. And they'll also run in Gateway. They do one oval race at Gateway to that brand new Verizon IndyCar Series event. And a lot of guys are looking forward to that. And really, that's what it is about here in this program, Kevin. As you know, we're trying to develop these young drivers to work their way into the Verizon IndyCar Series, and we slowly bring them along. They run one oval in USF 2000, normally two ovals in Pro Mazda with a shortened schedule this year, just the one, and of course 3 ovals in the Indy Lights Series. The idea is to get these kids with the opportunity to get on the oval, get to that skill set developed before they move their way into the Verizon IndyCar Series. Because of course, once they do, there's a good handful of ovals when they get to IndyCar that they really have to master.
And Dan Anderson has been pretty honest when talking about whether to use 1 or 2 ovals in Pro Mazda. And he said, let's face it, we're trying to increase the car count, and ovals scare a lot of people away. It's significant crash damage. So where we're at right now, we'd have thought it would be best just to do 1. They may go back to 2 as soon as next year.
I personally believe 1 is enough, because in my mind, if you look at USF 2000 Pro Mazda, how many drivers actually go all the way through into the Indy Lights program? It's usually only 2 or 3 drivers, even 1 or 2 a year, or 3 a year, that make that jump. I think that a lot of drivers, the majority of the field, especially if you have 20 guys in the field, they're not looking maybe to go to Indy Lights, or they're just trying to sample Pro Mazda. I think that 1, as long as you have 1 in USF 2000 and 1 in Pro Mazda, it's probably enough. They may go back to 2 again, as you said. Just that initial experience of being able to do it, I think, is what they need. Because they do get testing on the ovals as well. They're able to go to at least 1 test.
And we have seen that it is an easier transition for a really good, talented road course driver to learn ovals than it seems to be the other way around. Those that grew up doing nothing but ovals that try to transition with guys that have been doing it since the go-kart days, it's tough to catch up. It's tough to catch up to the road course. I mean, we've seen how many drivers have we seen come over to IndyCar that didn't even go through the Mazda road to Indy that figure it out on ovals fairly quickly, and they're proficient at it.
6.6 seconds now the lead for Victor Franzoni. Franzoni's been good on the ovals as well. Of course, he ran in USF 2000, was very strong. And we had the night before the 500 days out at the Lucas Oil Raceway. That event not on the schedule here for 2017. Fisher, Kuna, Martin, and Listoshkin still top 5. Martin's been able to cut that gap down to third to 1.9 seconds. Went back up a little bit as a 125.1 for Martin last time by. Kuna gets back into the 124, so Carlos Kuna able to stretch that gap back to 1.9. But again, we still have a long way to go. 18 minutes remaining in this opening race here today. Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship, powered by Mazda. They'll have their second race of their doubleheader after this. There's 4 great races on the docket here today. In the race lineup, it will be Pro Mazda, then USF 2000, then Indy Lights, and then, of course, the Verizon IndyCar Series. But we do have a qualifying session to come still for Indy Lights. That will hit the track after this Pro Mazda event. So Indy Lights qualifying will be next up. Continuing to watch the lap times here between third and fourth. 0.7 of a second. Martin quicker than Carlos Cunha. The battle for that position now down to just 1.2 seconds. The 57 of Bob Kaminsky coming into pit lane. Kaminsky currently running in the 12th spot. We're going to have a fight here, I believe, Kevin, for the final position on the podium as Anthony Martin in the number 8 slowly whittling away at that gap between himself and Carlos Cunha in the yellow number 81 for Team Pelfrey. Quicker by 0.7 of a second last time by, just 1.2 now. The gap between third and fourth.
And that's Anthony Martin is one that we thought might have the best chance at challenging Franzoni today. He wasn't quite as quick as he was yesterday. He didn't have as good of a starting position either. So the car's changed throughout a run. It's very possible that his is coming to him, and it's all who manages the Cooper tires the best throughout the run. And they tend to be pretty consistent and last throughout the entire race, but there are things that can happen within a race that take away some of the performance, especially if you lock them up a little bit too much. So there's still much to be decided here with a lot of time left in this event.
Here they come down the front straightaway. That's Cunha in the yellow number 81. The soul red number 8 of Anthony Martin, again, the reigning USF 2000 champion. Participating this year with the scholarship from Mazda, the young driver out of Australia, benefiting from that great scholarship program. Wins the championship, gets funded for the 2017 season to run with Cape Motorsports in the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Cooper Tires, and he is now 1.3 seconds back. Cunha able to get back down to a 125.1, Martin a 125.2, so the gap actually increasing just a little bit this last time by. 15 minutes still to go. Got to figure around 9 or 10 laps still remaining in this event, as if we, of course, stay clean and green through to the end. Franzoni leading by 8.3 seconds. He's settled down to a consistent 124.5s. Solid lap time, just about 2-3 of a second off what he's capable of, but just getting into that nice groove, knocking out 124.5s.
And that's how good he is, that he's settling in, as we say, and he's still a half a second from everybody else that's pushing, trying to gain a position.
Well, you know what? We talked about the fact that Team Pelfrey's won the last 2 championships. Of course, Aaron Tielitz winning with them last year, Santiago Urrutia winning 2 years ago. But before that, it was Spencer Piggott winning the championship with Uncos Racing. This Uncos crew knows how to get the job done. They've won multiple championships in this Pro Mazda program. And Franzoni just kind of settling in with the team, getting a good feel for the engineering staff. It does take a little while to blend back together with the guys that are calling the shots, and when you're trying to tell them exactly how the car feels for you, they're trying to develop the car setup to suit the driver, and of course the driver asking for certain things and the way that car is going to handle. Franzoni, Fisher, Cunha, 1, 2, 3, but again, Martin trying to get himself onto the podium here, 1.3 seconds back. 13.5 minutes remaining. Martin's got to keep knocking it down. He needs to at least whittle out a couple of tenths of a second a lap if he wants to get close. And again, once he gets into that draft, the focus is to try to get that run down to one of these straightaways. A lot of aerodynamics on these Pro Mazda cars, and once you do get underneath and get behind the drivers, such a potential to lose the front of the car. All that aero, the wash coming out of the car in front of you, doesn't go on the front wing, so you don't get the same front downforce. So as you're trying to roll into a corner, the car will have that understeer and kind of push out of the corner. So you always have to try to find clean air. These two long straightaways here on the road course at Indianapolis really give the opportunity to make those passes, as the aero is not affected as much, as long as you can kind of stay to the outside and get a little bit of air on the front wing. Last time by, Carlos Cunha steps it up to a 25 flat. He gains 3/10 on Martin. So what was once a 1.2 second lead now stretched out to 1.5. Carlos Cunha answering the call as he tries to get on the podium here in the number 81 for Team Pelfrey. Great way to kick off the morning here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the second run of the Mazda Road to Indy, against these young drivers racing here in the Pro Mazda Championship. A huge prize waits for them at the end of the season finale at Watkins Glen in September. The champion of this series will win a scholarship worth over $700,000 to run in the Indy Lights Series in 2018. And again, Indy Lights just that one step away from the Verizon IndyCar Series, and the fact that we have 5 of our last 6 champions running in this year's Indianapolis 500.
Yeah.
Kevin Lee, it's just such an opportunity. These drivers know how big it is.
23 of the 33, I think, in last year's field came from the Mazda Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, and if not all 23, really close. I know it was over 20 had raced in Indy Lights.
And it's exciting, and I think you're just going to see that number continue to grow as we have more drivers coming in. More drivers have come through this such a fantastic ladder system. We know exactly where we need to be. These drivers can get into USF 2000. They know the steps to get to the IndyCar program. All they have to do is get the job done.
You know, here's something else I like as they try to put together sponsorships and partnerships. It's always good to race in front of IndyCar teams and owners and just kind of associate with them, but you're entertaining your clients, your sponsors, your partners, and you can bring them to an IndyCar weekend. It's added value to what you already have, and the Mazda Road to Indy does a great job with hospitality that there is some access to, but just to be able to mingle and look over, and there's Scott Dixon, and there's Tony Kanaan, and these young drivers, I've seen the IndyCar drivers, they do a nice job of mentoring these young drivers. They're very willing to help with questions, and they get to know some of these kids and young men, and that's a huge value. And that's one difference between when they used to race in their own setting. Yeah, you're the marquee event of the weekend, but I think there's a lot of value to being on the quote undercard with IndyCar.
And you look at the paddock, Kevin, you're right. We talked to Nico Jamin after his win in Indy Lights last year. The question was asked, do you get any help from the other French drivers in the Verizon IndyCar Series? And Nico had said he's had dinner with Simon Pagenaud before. They've talked. They had a chance. He can go to Simon and ask questions if he needs to. And I've had a number of drivers tell me that they've had access to Mike Hull as well. You know, Mike's the kind of guy that would
Mike's great.
Love to talk to the young drivers. He, of course, was a Formula Ford driver in his own right back in the day. But, you know, Mike's been there to talk to some of these young kids as well. There's so much access to great knowledge in the paddock, and that's one of the amazing things about being part of it. Hospitality, one thing for sure, but you know what? If you can do it, you walk up and talk to these IndyCar drivers, and they're going to speak to you. And the same thing goes with many of the engineers as well. Franzoni able to work his way by a couple of the lap cars, the 44 of Davis and the number 2 of Ford. And that'll be the job of TJ Fisher next time by as he tries to grab another second place finish. Carlos Cunha has restretched that lead back out to 1.9 in the battle for third as he's running good laps here. Essentially 125 flats. 125.09 last time by for Carlos Cunha, stretching another 1/10 of a second. Martin, with about 8.5 minutes remaining here, really needs to lay down some good laps if he wants to try to battle for that third position. Anthony Martin currently in fourth. Swept the weekend at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And again, lost a 1/10 of a second. He's just about a 1/10 of a second slower than Cunha right now. 2.1 seconds the gap between third and fourth. We thought that might have been a battle, Kevin, for the last position on the podium, but Carlos Cunha really kind of taking control of it.
And this could end up being a very noteworthy day for TJ Fisher running in second. He has somewhat quietly, because the focus has so much been on the domination of Martin and St. Pete and the domination this weekend of Franzoni, but Fisher is in line to have podiums in all 4 events. He's been 3rd in the first 3, but that'll be a big step for him, moving up to 2nd, trying to continue to make progress to eventually get to a win.
I think that's a great observation, and you look back at last year when Pato O'Ward was able to win the first, or 6 of the first 7 races on the season. Everybody thought it was going to be a walk-away win. We were talking about 2013 when Matt Brabham essentially dominated the year to win that championship. But midway through the season, Aaron Thielen started to get a good feel for it, was able to sweep the weekend at Road America, and things can change. And right now, we're seeing TJ Fisher in that same Team Pelfrey that both Pato O'Ward and Thielen ran with last year, just starting to get his feet under him. He's really getting comfortable, and you're right. If he finishes 2nd here today, it will be 4 straight podium finishes. All it takes is for him to get to a track that he really likes, knocks out a race win, and he finds himself back in the championship fight as well. As it stands, Kevin, right now, he's only going to be 25 points back.
And remember, there's one event where there are 3 rounds, Mid-Ohio, so if you happen to have the setup and the track is to your liking, you could really make up some ground in that weekend.
Funny thing, you look back last year at Mid-Ohio, it was only a doubleheader last year, but it was Cape Motorsports with Nico Jamin that was able to sweep the weekend. So they're going to have a good setup there for Anthony Martin. Anthony actually swept the tripleheader in USF 2000 last year. So when you think about Mid-Ohio, you got to put the target pretty much on Anthony Martin. He's won 3 times. Cape won there last year. But again, all it takes is for TJ Fisher and Team Pelfrey to click and get that first victory. We talk about the fact that once you've won, more wins normally come because the confidence, the momentum is there.
Down to a little more than 6 minutes remaining in this Pro Mazda event. The first of 4 races today for the IndyCar GP, highlighted by the Verizon IndyCar Series event at 3:50 this afternoon. We'll once again have non-stop action throughout the day. Indy Lights qualifying for race 2 is coming up. The USF 2000 second event of the weekend. Indy Lights again. And then IndyCar with Will Power on the pole for the 47th time in his career coming up. And Team Penske has won the pole for all 5 events. This year they start 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 in this one.
I was listening to the IndyCar radio broadcast of the qualifying session, the knockout qualifying, and every time that number comes up, how many times Will Power's been on the pole, it just boggles my mind.
And Elio's won more, but Elio's been around for an extra decade.
But Will Power can just get the job done in qualifying.
Yeah,
it's tremendous.
You know, by the time it's all said and done, assuming he continues on this same path and has another 5 years or so of excellence, he's going to be, we already think he might be the best ever at it, but think of the pace he's on, the numbers that he can amass.
With the right team, of course, Team Penske, as you said, so good here on this GP. And the other impressive one for me was Juan Pablo Montoya coming back after being on the bench here for the first 5 races of the year, 4 races of the year, and then boom, right back in the hunt.
Any surprise, though?
No, not really.
Yeah, exactly. Have you been seeing him at the kart tracks?
You know what? He's been working a lot with his son, Sebastian Montoya, and he is a great young driver. And I see them mostly on social media. They're having such a good time. It's great to see the father-son connection there. And, of course, the whole family's there when they're at the track, which I just love. And that's what karting's all about. To see Sebastian out there having fun and see Juan smiling away on the wrenches. He likes to do some wrenching himself.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he likes to work on the karts, and I love that. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, Juan says he's good.
He is good.
We're going to have to watch out for Sebastian.
Every father says his kid's good.
No, I think Juan's pretty honest. The way he says it, he said, no, he's really pretty good. And he's trying to be modest about it, but he's pretty good.
We've had some fun this year at the Superkarts USA races. Of course, Rubens Barrichello has both of his sons out there running as well. Emerson Fittipaldi has his young son out racing, so it's great to have some of these second-generation drivers come out to have some fun. 10.8 seconds. Now the lead for Victor Franzoni. Wow, he is getting the job done here today. The Brazilian from Sao Paulo. When he's not racing here this weekend, he's at the go-kart track as well. He's driving, he's coaching, he's one of the mechanics for a couple of the drivers. Other than that, he's running his Brazilian stock car with his dad as well. They have a great time running that car down in Brazil.
We're down to just over 3 minutes remaining. So the final few laps of this second Pro Mazda event of the weekend. 26 complete for the leader, and he stretches it even more, up to 11.4 seconds. Victor Franzoni leads TJ Fisher. He's still a half a second faster than everyone else on every single lap. Carlos Cunha is another 6 seconds back of Fisher. Anthony Martin has flirted with challenging for the podium, but he's a full 3 seconds back of Cunha, running in fourth. And Martin has secured that fourth place position. He's 6 seconds ahead of Nikita Listoshkin. Philippe Dennis runs sixth. Stingray Robb is seventh. Bobby Eberle runs in the 8th position.
You know, the impressive thing about Victor Franzoni is this kind of window that he's laying down laps. His fastest was a 1:24.2, equaling the fast lap he laid down yesterday in that race win. Everything's been within about a half a second, though, between 24.2 and 24.7, normally 24.5s. He's backed it down a little bit to 24.7. And again, almost 12 seconds the lead for Franzoni, the Brazilian driver, looking to go 2 for 2 here on the road course of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He will take a 6-point lead over Anthony Martin to the late June run at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Less than 2 minutes remaining.
And time is ticking away, and we are going to see the white flag the next time by. Just a minute and a half remaining in the second Pro Mazda event of the weekend. Victor Franzoni on his way to a sweep, even more dominating today. With 27 laps complete, he has a 12-second advantage. Right now, Franzoni is going into turn 7 at the end of the long backstretch, and as he entered turn 7, TJ Fisher was just coming on to the backstretch. That's how big the lead is.
Right now, Franzoni trying to find a way by the 31 of Puderbach, able to get by as they work their way out at turn number 11. Lots of open racetrack for Victor Franzoni. Remember that name. Again, a very popular driver, the Mazda Road to Indy paddock. Won a race last year at the streets of Toronto in the USF 2000 series with Arms Up Motorsports. He will roll it onto the front straightaway here, and Tom Hansing will throw him the white flag at start finish. A tremendous lead. Another 124.7 lap as well, consistent. TJ Fisher crosses the line here in the second position, still 12.3 seconds back. Final lap for Pro Mazda. Indy Lights qualifying for race number 2. Next up on the docket. Franzoni looking to take the point lead if he can bring it home here on the final lap. Flawless performance thus far for the young driver out of Brazil.
These are the type of weekends that make people take notice. Dominating at this venue in front of the IndyCar crowd.
He's definitely one to watch. And as I said, a lot of the people in the paddock think this guy could be the next Brazilian star in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Very highly thought of within the engineering staff of so many teams. Likeable young man as well. Franzoni now 12.5 seconds ahead of TJ Fisher. Franzoni will come out at turn number 13. Out at turn number 14. A tremendous weekend for the young Brazilian as he works his way up here to the yard of bricks. Double checker flag from Tom Hansing, and the winner in Pro Mazda. Back-to-back jacks for Victor Franzoni. TJ Fisher now rolls onto the front straightaway as well. A great run for him. Not a win, but yet another podium finish.
Victor Franzoni, 2 wins in a row here in Indianapolis. Man, that had to feel amazing. What's it feel like to know that you've swept the weekend here in Indiana?
It's amazing. I have no words to describe the feeling now. Was perfect. Everything perfect. We lead it from Chris Griffin test. We lead almost every session until now, and it was great. Thank you very much, everybody that was watching. Thank you, Juncos. Thank you, Road to Indy. Thank you, Mazda. Thank you, Cooper Tires.
Royal Purple to support the Lupus Foundation, and it's amazing. Now I'm leading the championship, so this makes me much more confident for the rest of the season, and I think I'm really happy now.
Phenomenal weekend. Anthony Martin swept the first rounds in St. Petersburg. You swept the second weekend here in Indiana. That championship is blown wide open. You are now the leader. What's it feel like to know that you could grab the title and go straight to Indy Lights next year?
It's unbelievable. For sure, you still have a lot until the end of the championship. Anthony is a really good guy, so I'm sure it's not going to be easy. This race, everything was really perfect. I had the perfect car. I really love this track, so I think I drive really good here. But we still have to work a lot. We have to keep working really hard because I'm sure Pelfrey and Cape, they won't just like stop. They will work a lot, and we have to work also.
The Mazda Road Indy Grand Prix presented by Royal Purple, supporting the Lupus Foundation of America, goes to this man in Pro Mazda, Victor Franzoni. Congratulations, Victor.
Thank you very much.
Good job.